Okay, here's my thoughts coming into the fight with Tyson Fury, Dereck Chisora 2. I want to review the first fight in this. I want to go back and look at that first fight because there's a lot of things in that first fight which make me question the second fight. First of all, Tyson Fury coming into that fight was in the best shape of his career coming into that fight. If you look at the tape, I'm not lying, go back and look at the tape, Tyson Fury was in the best shape of his life. Dereck Chisora was in the worst shape of his career going into that fight. Regardless of the excuses, that's what it was. That was the Dereck Chisora that was in the ring that night. And if you look at the way both guys fought, Fury, used good hand speed, good movement, and at times did toy with Dereck Chisora. Dereck Chisora was able to catch Fury and sting Fury a couple of times in the fight, but I don't think he had the mental fitness, let alone the physical fitness, to really push Fury to the limit in that fight. There were times that Chisora just stood in front of Fury and Fury just unloaded with punches, and Chisora had no answer for that. The other thing is about this fight, going into this fight, Chisora was meant to fight, he was unbeaten at the time, he was meant to fight Vladimir Klitschko twice, and in 2 fights Vladimir Klitschko pulled out. Guess what? Tyson Fury was meant to fight David Haye twice, and in 2 fights Fury was pulled out on. Now, so there's similarities there, and luckily for Fury, he went on and had a fight against Joey Abel. But look of the condition of Tyson Fury when he fought Joey Abel. That is, a sure sign of a lack of motivation. Even though Tyson Fury was in shape, a lack of motivation coming into the Joey Abel fight. After being hyped up to fight David Haye, would have been his career-defining night. And Vladimir Klitschko would have been Dereck Chisora's career-defining fight. So there's parallels and similarities there. Let's get back to the fight now. In the fight, Dereck Chisora did not work Tyson Fury's body, even though Tyson Fury's body was exposed many times when Fury was throwing punches. Chisora did not close Fury down. Chisora did not work Tyson Fury's body, whereas Fury did throw good punches to Chisora's body. Throughout the fight, Tyson was given good instructions by his trainer because he was in good shape and was able to carry out the instructions that were given to him. In the opposite corner, Chisora, who was not in great shape and just did not seem like he wanted to even be in the ring, Don Charles every round was shouting out, "Come on, we've got to win this, we've got to win this." So Don Charles spent the whole fight trying to G up and motivate a clearly demotivated Dereck Chisora in the 12 rounds. I didn't look at it really that way because, I looked at the fight and thought, oh yeah, it was a good fight. But when you really go back and look at the fight again, Chisora wasn't interested, he wasn't even at the fight. So for those people that are taking the first fight and saying the first fight is any sort of parallels to the second fight, forget it. What can we take away from the fight? The positives. The positives are Dereck Chisora went 12 rounds when he was out of shape and demotivated. And, an unbeaten fighter that was really looking to fight Vladimir Klitschko and really didn't see Tyson Fury as a threat and important. So, he wasn't up for the fight. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, had something to fight for. He was in the best shape of his fight and was fighting for the British title. So, different mindsets, different motivations. So we're looking at the fight now through totally different eyes. You're going to look at a Dereck Chisora who will be in top shape for this fight. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, he'll come in great shape. Peter Fury will get him in great shape. What does he bring to the table differently in this next fight? Since Dereck Chisora has lost to Tyson Fury, their careers have gone in totally different paths in terms of the quality opponents. Tyson Fury has gone on to fight guys like Kevin Johnson and Steve Cunningham. Dereck Chisora has fought Vitaly Klitschko. He has fought Robert Helenius. He has fought David Haye. He's fought Malik Scott. He's fought Kevin Johnson. He's fought Gerber. He's fought Parler. You know, Dereck Chisora has been knocked out, has come back, and has become European champion. And don't look at that knockout defeat to David Haye as a bad thing. I look at it as a good thing. Dereck Chisora, since his comeback against since the knockout to David Haye, I would stress, and I would really ask for guys and girls who are listening to this breakdown to go and look at Dereck Chisora's best performances, and they've always been against guys that are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", the giants. His style is suited to fighting guys that are much taller and, you know, have got long arms and long range. Helenius, Vitaly Klitschko, those are the guys that Dereck Chisora has looked great against. Now, could Tyson Fury beat the Dereck Chisora that fought Vitaly Klitschko that night? That's the question I'm asking. The only question I'm asking. Now, the Tyson Fury that's going to be facing Dereck Chisora on the 26th of July will be facing a Dereck Chisora who will be European champion, so he's got another belt on the line, has fought more consistently at world level than Tyson Fury, has had more fights than Tyson Fury of recent times. Tyson Fury had the long layoff because of the 2 fights with David Haye and came back and fought Joey Abel. So, you know, and he wasn't in fantastic shape for that fight, let's be honest. So, you know, you can do all you want in sparring and in training. Now you've got the big fight. People say, well, he's beaten Dereck Chisora before, but I wouldn't even look at that fight, and Peter Fury is correct in saying don't look at that fight as some sort of measuring stick as to how this fight will go. I tell you now, this is the toughest fight of Tyson Fury's career for a number of reasons. You now have got Dereck Chisora, who's coming back, and as I said, his best fights are against guys that are much taller than himself. He was able to do Helenius and beat Helenius up, and Helenius, if you remember at the time, was being rated as the next best thing. Let's go back at the time. Helenius was the next best thing, and he was meant to knock Dereck Chisora out. He didn't. Vitaly Klitschko was the reigning heavyweight champion of the world. Okay? Reigning heavyweight champion of the world. And say what you want about Vitaly Klitschko, Chisora pushed him. And that was an inexperienced Dereck Chisora, who now, since, again, going back to the David Haye fight, the knockout, Dereck Chisora has developed his body work. You saw it in the Gerber fight, in the Parler fight. He can work the body. He has an overhand right, which is clipping and knocking guys down. This has knocked down Kevin Johnson. This has knocked down Malik Scott and stopped Parler and stopped Gerber and Malik. So Dereck Chisora's punch power has improved, and it's against better opposition. He's not stopping guys at low opposition. He's been stopping guys at a high opposition. Nobody drops Kevin Johnson. Tyson Fury couldn't knock Kevin Johnson down, and Chisora did. Okay, so say what you want about Kevin Johnson, and one thing we know, he's got a good chin, and not even Vitaly Klitschko could knock Kevin Johnson down, and Kevin Johnson was fresher then. So, you know, I think people have to be concerned with that overhand right. And for those people who say that Tyson Fury won't get caught with an overhand right, you look at his career and you look at the guys who have dropped him, have been guys who have been shorter than him, doesn't see the overhand right coming. Doesn't see the overhand right coming. And the times he has been knocked down, go back and look at the fights that Tyson Fury's been knocked down in. Those are fights where he's been talking to the opponent and getting confident and trying to bring the fighter on. Against Cunningham, he was talking to Cunningham, boom, the overhand right. Piechek, he was talking to Piechek, you saw it. So, and he's come back and fought well in these fights. But if he's knocked down Kevin Johnson, if he's knocked down Malik Scott, he can knock down Tyson Fury. And unlike in the fight beforehand where he was out of shape, I believe he's in better shape now, and he's able to close the ring down as a fighter, which is what he wasn't able to do beforehand. So these are things that should concern Tyson Fury in his camp. On the flip side, Tyson Fury has got good hand speed, he's got good decent footwork, and on the outside, if Dereck Chisora allows Tyson Fury to let him fight well on the outside, and is able just stands in front of him and can't get past the left jab, then he's in for a long night, Dereck Chisora. The other thing, Dereck Chisora has got to stick to a game plan for this fight. He can't just come in and do what he wants to do. He's got to listen to Don Charles in his corner. You know, Tyson Fury, for what it seems, has a very good relationship with Peter Fury, and Peter Fury, even Peter Fury himself now, is in the biggest fight of his career so far. You know, this fight is a world title eliminator, and when Tyson Fury fought for the world title eliminator against Cunningham, Peter Fury wasn't in his corner. Peter Fury now will be in the corner, and this is the biggest test of his career as a trainer, in my mind. In my mind. So, I think for me, this fight will be won on the fighter that can stick to the game plan. There are question marks. Has the inactivity of Tyson Fury gonna hurt him in this fight? You do all the sparring you want, but inactivity, is that gonna hurt? And is Joey Abel really the best preparation to fight Dereck Chisora? Is Tyson Fury in his mind psychologically still thinking about the first fight they had? I beat you once before, I'll beat you again. Is he really thinking about that? Is that in his mind going into the fight? Does he really want to be fighting Dereck Chisora again? Because Tyson Fury said to me in an interview, you know what? He's a bum. I fought him before and I beat him and I'll beat him again. He's a journeyman. If that's psychological in your mind and you're going into fight, the last thing you want to be doing in a big fight against somebody who's bringing the fight to you is to try and switch on in a fight. It doesn't happen. You have to be mentally switched on when you get into the fight. Tyson Fury himself has admitted he's unpredictable. We don't know what we're going to see from Tyson Fury. Is he going to turn southpaw when he fights Dereck Chisora? Is he going to fight behind a good jab? Is he going to come out and try and knock Chisora out in the first round? We don't know. The one thing you know about Dereck Chisora, yes, he's predictable. He's going to fight that one way. But that one way does cause a lot of problems, and that one way has now won him the European Championship, and that one way has dropped Malik Scott, has dropped Kevin Johnson. Okay, and let's remember, regardless, these are just the facts. Tyson Fury was dropped by Steve Cunningham, and Steve Cunningham's a cruiserweight. So we have to look at these facts. These are not, as a fan, you just sometimes kind of overlook the facts. These are the facts. Love both Tyson Fury's trainer, Peter Fury, and Don Charles. Dereck Chisora has to stick to the game plan. Tyson Fury has to stick to the game plan. I suspect this fight will go. The game plans will be thrown out the window, and it's just the guy who can stick to the game plan that wins the fight for me. But you know, the improvements of Dereck Chisora and the inactivity of Tyson Fury, will they play a part? I don't know. Will Dereck Chisora's style and his technique have improved significantly enough to trouble Tyson Fury? Don Charles has been talking about Dereck Chisora. I think this is the night where it's got to all happen for him. You know, Don Charles has also said that if Dereck Chisora can't beat Tyson Fury, then, you know, he's going to sack himself. I will also say, at the end of the first fight between Tyson Fury and Dereck Chisora, there was a lot of talk about Tyson Fury and people saying, oh, well, you know, Dereck should win this fight. He should win this fight because he should have won the fight, but he was out of shape. A lot of people said if they had an immediate rematch, Chisora would have won. That's what a lot of people said. There's not an immediate rematch. There's been a lot of fights between the two of them since, so it's who you're picking, really. You know what? Too many variables. I just think the guy that can stick to the game plan wins the fight, and both guys are unpredictable in that sense. So really, I can't make a prediction. May the best man win. This is Bayloric, and I'm out.